And again.
I don't get that. History repeats itself, right?
Oh, yeah.
Men who forget history are bound to repeat it.
Yes. If we could have read that Russia was aggressive towards, if we could have foresaw that Russia was, God dang it, dumb. Japan was aggressive towards Russia in 1911. We should have saw that history repeats itself and that it would be aggressive later on, which they were against us.
I mean,
wars can be predicted, but we don't want to predict them. We like to have them. This is the war machine. People get rich.
Well, that's maybe history's lesson, is that there are some controllers who have their hands on the levers of this military-industrial war
I
complex.
love that. And, when Eisenhower said that, this was a Republican and a general in World War II, probably in World War I also. I think so. Anyway, and when he said that, it just floored me.
That that was his exit speech, wasn't it?
Well, especially since I was only 5 years old at the time.
But no,
I didn't mean to. In fact, I heard it first from you, I believe, on the computer.
Right.
You showed it to me.
Right. Well, it's a famous quote, and that was attributed to his
Kennedy
sort of dire
outlook.
No, just realization that there was, and he was a general, mind you, and he was all.
He worked the contracts. You know,
he was puppeteered. Exactly, it's contract. It's to gather the resources, the factories, industry, whatever.
Face it, Joe. After World War II, the American economy shot.
I think Smedley Butler was a general who talked about how
Butler.
the modern military in the last 100 years has just been nothing but a mercenary army for the corporations who are out.
There was a guy, a general in the World War II that was just ruthless. General Leroy May or something.
Yeah, what was his story?
He worked, what's his name? Kennedy's Secretary of State.
McNamara.
Defense.
That's defense. McNamara.
McNamara worked under LeMay, Curtis LeMay, a general that was just meaner than shit and knew how to win a war. Because he was so mean. It was called The Fog of War. It's a award-winning documentary.
I hate war, but if you're going to engage in it, you better just plan on winning it, or just not even fight it. So,
in fact, Joe, you talk about America so much that I think you wouldn't mind if the rest of the world was gone.
No, that's not true at all. That's not true at all.
Sometimes I get the feeling.
No, I mean, I just want to understand modern warfare and the motivation behind it.
We'll have to take a break now. This is KWWW.
No,
we'll be back
really.
Hey!
Really, like, who are brainwashed? We're just talking about how religions can brainwash people.
Joe,
who are brainwashing?
You're brainwashing me. You know why?
Good people
you know
to
why?
Go to war for these.
You are brainwashing me. Do you know why? Because I've come down here many, many a time, and never have you introduced a story considering the Syrian conflict. It's something that doesn't even appear to be happening as we live through this, because you never talk about it. You don't talk about foreign subjects, foreign relations, foreign situations very often. You're more about what's going on.
No, but I understand that that's just one piece of the chessboard, and absolutely that's being thought about at the highest levels. And I was watching some videos on LiveLeak today, and they're really sad. I mean, big bombs, snipers, and it's just a bad situation over there. And I just know that the controllers are orchestrating little pieces of this chessboard.
Yes.
And that's what it is. And so they want that Assad guy to get out of there because he, it's like one of the last sort of bastions against this mafia banking cartel that runs the military-industrial complex.
Why I think you're right on this? When's the last time you seen one of these guys in the end say, "Hey, okay, I'll take, give me a plane here and I'll leave this government," because he'll be taken somewhere where he will live the rest of his life in luxury.
Right, he could be. You know, he's like educated. This Assad guy is like a Westerner.
I know.
mean, he was sent away, and
And-
he doesn't want this bullshit, but he knows what he's up against. I don't know. I don't even know why he keeps.
This is
It's almost like why we're us patriots or the Ron Paul Revolution.
No,
These
this-
people care about
this
our
guy is
country.
just like Hussein.
No, I don't
Hussein-
think so.
Hussein had to control
I mean,
three different religious sects, and he did this by handcuffing all of them
no,
because that's the only way he could keep them from killing each other. You know, this is what he went
maybe, yeah.
I believe.
But you know, Syria has a tradition under their current regime or their current cultural understanding of like harmony amongst religions. There are Christians. There's a large sect of Orthodox Christians that live in Syria, and it concerns me that they just want to let the jihadists, who are like backed probably by the CIA, in there just to crack the shell. You get it so chaotic that nobody really knows what the fuck. Then they borrow or they bribe all these local land terrorists, whatever, these guys that the warlords, we should call them, and then they can build their pipelines through these regions where they bribe the warlords to let them do it, and then it's all
until you
corporate.
get to the pawns, and the pawns who are actual Arabians who believe in this Allah stuff to their heart.
Yeah, well, they do, and they're in an insurgency because they're in occupied land for the resource, and so
Exactly.
so are
Exactly.
we really. I mean, really, we're no different because the same conglomerate are running us. They keep us in serfdom. They never let us get out of the, middle class to compete against them. There's all the existing laws and structures
It
and
holds us back.
modes of control.
Two creative artists right here in the same room, and they hold us back.
Well, I mean-
Hit after hit after hit. And what happens? Nothing.
I mean, I don't know.
How can we
I
get
don't
it
know.
out
What do you
there?
do? I think you just gotta educate, and hope you plant some seeds. Hope people see it. But I mean, they're a real force to be reckoned with, man. They've been running the world for a long time. Eustace Mullins takes it back 8,000 years, back to like Nimrod and
know.
the Sumerians, the Babylonians.
The Assyrians?
The Sumerians in Babylonia.
That was
I mean,
India.
that's like modern day Iraq.
Okay.
And so there's something there too. I mean,
Well, what's the history on Turkey? Because that's the country I want to talk about right now.
well, Turkey was
Turkey is a powerhouse, right, as
right.
we speak.
Well, that was like one of the Constantinople, which is Istanbul,
Phew.
Constantinople, which is. But anyway,
Istanbul,
it was a
Constantinople.
major region where all these different cultures and religions fought over territory. Ethnically, they were fighting, but they sort of used the religion to motivate their soldiers. And so on the Ottomans and then the Roman Empire clashed right there.
Oh, yes.
But they were abashed. It's funny because the fellow Christians out of Venice ransacked Constantinople and took all these relics and ancient artifacts and all this. So they robbed that mystery school. There's another guy that talked about how a region is important, but I understand there's natural resources in Afghanistan. There's lithium, there's oil, all this, or pipeline potential.
Are you sure about that?
Yes, there's a lot of natural resources there. There's a lot of natural resources in Iraq.
Untapped.
But there is also, what's interesting is one man in my research was talking about all these mystery schools and how they come out of that region, and maybe some of that motivation that says, hey, we got to go in there, but it's not we, it's them who got us, which are these mystery, what they call Eastern mystery schools or Gnostic. Anyway, these old ancient cultures had this understanding. They had their hotbeds, they had their libraries and their artifacts and their even
Shangri-La. Oh,
so going there, trying to understand, what they had before, what their secrets were, was a motivation of some of these Illuminists. Say at the, in the Illuminati that we were talking about earlier. So,
does everybody get that? No. Could we have some specific questions for Joe?
yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sir. What the fuck are you talking about? What the fuck are you talking
No,
about?
I was just like trying to figure out the motivation.
I'm trying to feed my kids.
But really, here's probably what some people would say. The only justification I could see about us tangling in the Middle East, and they call that a national security interest. But our national security interests lie in the energy potential there and Russia or China's access to that over us. So, like, Russia and China are right on that border, that whole region. They could put their little drinking straws, their little pipelines over there and suck all that out before we get to it.
Russia has plenty
But-
of oil. They have
Well,
oil fields.
they certainly do, but it would not be. It would be more convenient for China and Russia to exploit those regions.
Excuse me, Joe. I think
Yeah.
I'll interrupt. I think what we've come upon is that Russia has enough oil to supplement its people, but they want to expand on that. They want to be the oil producer of the entire world.
Well, everyone needs. That's a national security interest for any countries to have.
Shouldn't the land
access.
it's on be the land that makes the money? Are these African?
Hey, don't you remember back in World War II, one of the motivations for Japan to even get involved with the West?
Trade embargoes.
Yeah, we embargoed them, and we embargoed them from all access to petroleum.
I know. That's
And
disgusting.
they realized that they had to bite or just be weakened.
I know.
They
It
had
made them
no.
go to war. Do you think they wanted to fucking kill all the people that died?
I don't think they wanted the United States involved, but they were dealing with China. But they had them already whooped.
They defeated the great country of Russia in 1911. My paper in college discussed this, and I came up with the notion that history repeats itself, and that because of the Japanese aggression against Russia, how they defeated the Russians during that war, should have told us, keep an eye on those guys. And it would come back to haunt us by Pearl Harbor.
I just think that there are, even within Russia and in China, maybe at the oligarchs in China think they're in control, but they're really a slave to the money monopoly. And so is Russia, and so are we. And this is what the Syrian conflict is about.
Well,
this is what they want.
This is because your theory is the Illuminati controlled the entire world. However, if you were to think of a group of people that were the last people to be influenced by the Illuminati, I think we could both agree it's the China, Korea, Japanese mix.
Maybe something in the Asian culture,
I mean,
absolutely.
the
yeah.
India, it can be just led by a fucking little stick. And they just follow.
Well, yeah, British. That was part of the
because
British Empire.
British, India.
I mean, they couldn't get China. So what they
Inclusive.
do? What they do to China to deal with them, to destabilize them? They got their culture addicted to opium.
They were just a little bit wary of China, the Chinese.
They
They got
just-
along with the Indians, but the India, but they were leery of the Chinese, which
Which the
It's
Chinese were
cultures,
leery of
cultures.
them.
of course.
I'm telling you, these are the same guys that went and they picked up slaves in Africa, and then they dropped them off here, and they picked up sugar cane, and they took that to probably wherever, India, and got some spices,
Do you think?
And then-
do you think the
and
Illuminati?
they got some spices and opium out of India, which all that opium comes from that
I
region.
would like to try opium.
And then they took it to
Hey,
China.
opium is a
They
plant.
took it to China looking for tea, and China said, "Hey,
tea.
stop bringing us that fucking opium. We
Right.
ain't gonna deal with that anymore."
Be
And
serious
Dave's
today.
like, that was the opium wars, man. There were like major wars between China and Britain, the British Empire, about opium,
right.
and they used that as a weapon, which tells you about this modern,
Opium is turned into heroin.
opium. Yeah, it's
No,
turned.
but in smoking it, you don't become addicted to it.
Oh, you get any opiates, you get a
And
tolerance
what's
to
the
it.
feeling like?
Come a numbness, from my understanding. It's a
Ease-
painkiller,
Yeah, it's an easement of pain.
but opium is used to make heroin, It's used to make morphine, which is used on the battlefield or when you're dying of cancer.
And this plant is grown specifically a lot in Afghanistan.
Poppy, it just thrives there.
Why?
I just think everything's right. Actually, it thrives everywhere.
It could be grown here.
Oh, there's people grow it here. Yeah, cops wouldn't even know it. But it's a major narcotic offense.
Why can't we grow it?
Well, we could. I've heard of people growing it, but now it's a scheduled drug that will get you in a lot of trouble, just like any other. But yeah, what happens is
Isn't that like marijuana in the numbness? Don't you like the numbness?
I don't like the opiate. There's a chemistry with opiates that makes it highly addictive to where you build up a tolerance to where you either die from this tolerance. It gets so high, or you wind up in jail because you fall asleep at the wheel, or you do something stupid to feed your addiction because you just build this tolerance. But opiates are very dangerous. That's what OxyContin is, a synthetic opiate.
I like that stuff.
They basically
Is that what Steve was taking a lot of?
We don't have to name names or anything on our podcast.
That's right. We got a radio show here. This KW.
No, but yeah, he lost his leg in Afghanistan and he was on pain medication, and that is what. Yes, anybody who is dealing with pain and they have to deal with opiates.
Now the other was that he wanted to. He wanted them so bad that he went to a pharmacy.
Yeah, exactly. So the point is, you wind up dead or in jail or rehab. I mean, very serious. I mean, it was simple men who just had a broken leg. They were so liberal in giving this drug out that they addicted. There were people who went in lawsuits.
Can I ask you a specific question, Joe?
Yeah. By the way, that was Purdue Pharmaceutical who were the ones to synthetically produce this opiate.
I think Lilly's has a complex out there.
Giuliani's group was the one that got him off the hook with a little slap on the wrist. They made
was Lilly's
billions.
Involved with that?
Lilly's wasn't involved
because they have a complex out there in West Lafayette.
Well, yeah, but no. This is Purdue Pharmaceuticals is different. Oh. It's even spelled different than Purdue University.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Get into the mic.
Thank you. Yeah. So
I don't know what you learned here, but
that I'm tired.
Yeah.
I have to go to bed.
So what else? Give me your thoughts on some Ron Paul stuff. I'm part of this really active group of people who care, and we realize that there's legitimate philosophy coming from Ron Paul.
Well, as we last spoke, I told you Ron Paul should retire, spend some time with his wife, and go on the college circuit. And I believe my prediction has come to fruition. He's out there spreading the word, and I think some college students are going to pick up on it, and that is going to.
So he's out planting seeds.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yeah, he's Johnny
and
Appleseed.
that's the answer.
Oh yeah.
Because really, you can't shove anything down anybody's throat.
Never,
all you can do is just give them the ideas, which are just little seeds. And, like the Bible verse where you just throw the mustard seeds and some of them will
Didn't Ron Paul speak to that specifically, that he is just the guy getting it started and it's going to continue on and on? Now, he wants his son to take the mantle, but I really don't think that's a possibility. I think they need some of these college students that listen to Ron Paul and start to get together.
I think fundamentally you got to get the philosophy down. Guys like Rand Paul are breaking ground to a mainstream, but Ron and Rand are two different men. But I'm of all the mainstream Republicans, which is who generally speaking are the problem. The mainstream people are the problem. Rand Paul seems to be going out of his way to fit into mainstream, but it's like a double-edged sword. I hope he realizes it because
he's getting a lot of good playtime,
and it's important.
He's looking good doing it,
and he's doing all right. And I don't want to, I don't want to say too much bad about him, but I'm just saying that his father's a different man, and the fan that I am of his father
would not compromise as much as Rand does. Just spit it out, Joe.
Right. Well, not even compromise, but even understand. I mean, one of the things that pissed me off was the chemtrails. Rand Paul had some, some of us, and he just said, "Oh, they're contrails," just made us look silly.
Oh, did he? I didn't hear about
He's
this.
got homework. to
When
me.
did he do this to you?
Oh, that was a few months back, but
Was it a few months?
I took note. I've been taking notes. I've been taking notes about this, and I'm not. Hey, man, in my realm, you don't see me bragging about Rand Paul. In secret, in my mind, I'm glad there's guys like Rand Paul, Ted Cruz, some of these quasi Tea Party kind of guys, because they at least are about some of the constitutional issues but they're not about the foreign policy. They're not about realizing that there's big things. They're not taking the bold steps. Even Ron Paul didn't take the bold steps to me. I mean, Ron Paul did not. He never talked about chemtrails. He never talked about
Is
911
Rand
being
Paul
an
a
inside job.
senator or a representative?
He's a senator, and that's awesome.
That's
yeah.
why.
I know.
That's why.
Oh, yeah.
He's got some.
And we, the Liberty Movement, we were his, loudspeaker. And now it's kind of a sensitive topic to a lot of us because we're just wondering, I don't know.
How many kids does Rand Paul have?
I don't know. Actually.
Maybe it'll be his son that becomes president. You see the
No,
progression? Representative,
no,
senator. The next step is
no. I hope Rand or Ron Paul become the next president.
who?
Rand or Ron Paul. Even though I'm
No,
sitting
Ron
here
Paul's-
bashing him, but
Ron Paul's history, buddy. He's too old. What are you, nuts?
well, no,
Would you?
he's probably in
would
better
you
health
fa-
than
no.
you.
No, well, I agree with that, but would you just face reality? They're not going to vote him in. He's too old.
no, well, the country's waking up. I'll say that.
If they vote for an old man, then I think they've gone back to sleep.
No,
Gone back to sleep.
but look, they got the young guy. What was he?
How-
Everybody realized that
How
he
old
was
is
just
he?
the puppet.
How old is he?
Obama.
How old is Ron Paul?
He's like 76 or something.
Are you sure? I think he's 78.
Well, that guy could live to be 120. Wouldn't you love to have his leadership for the next whatever?
You're nuts. He's retired.
No, I'm not nuts.
He's retired.
He's fighting tooth and nail still to the
Still,
death.
Getting out the word. That's not.
No, that
president.
getting out the word. That man put the word into action.
Has
he
he
ran
gave
for
any
Congress. He's a
indication?
doctor.
Is he given any
Get into the
indication-
mic.
Is he given any indication that he's going to run for president in the next election?
No,
Then
he's
quit
done.
talking.
But
He's done.
but hey, doesn't mean we can't have my wishes. It's still early to do it.
It's late and I'm going to bed. But yeah, I'll still listen to him when he gives a speech. Ron Paul, I'll tell you, I'm glued.
All
I
right.
love it.
Before we get out of here, Kenny, chemtrails. You met me long ago, and I talked about these things, and we worked together outside a lot. And I would point them out. And did you maybe think I was crazy then?
Mm-mm.
No, you kind of always noticed there was something weird about that.
The 1942 was when they started testing with stuff being sprayed into the air, and it's expanded fertilization, all that kinds of. Well,
Yeah,
they drop
water.
water. They do all kinds of shit through the air, and because man thinks they're so fucking smart about everything, that they can come up with something. And this is where me and you digress, but I think what they're trying to do is a controlling of the carbon, which is being poisoning our atmosphere, and they're trying to deal with that.
I disagree.
Yeah. Well, that's why you drive.
No,
a truck.
I believe that they're trying to implement a carbon scheme or understanding. They're trying to blame things that are not really the culprit. The culprit of the heating or the cooling, basically, the earth changes have more to do with them trying to own the weather than us using too much coal. But yes, I do agree that we need to get our emissions back. But the things that are putting us out of whack, I just remember they used to be like volcanoes erupting right and left,
Joe,
just spewing like a major fucking in the middle of the earth. There's this dirty shit, methane. I mean, all these gases. I don't even know them, but that's just part of the Earth cycle. But now they're out spraying metallic dust and then heating it and vibrating it with an antenna
To do what?
to create pressure pockets that
Man.
heat a region of the ionosphere, and that excites and expands the gap in that region of the atmosphere, and then pressure systems will fill that gap. They can steer weather through different pressure differentials. And so, but yes, this is having, as this metallic dust lands on the Arctic glaciers, it's taking more heat from the sun, and it is melting those things, man. There's more, yeah, they are melting the glaciers, but it has more to do with their metallic dust than our driving a car.
No, but I tell you what, when they did this study about putting this thing
Get
out,
into the mic.
when they did this study, where they came up with this chemical that could do what you say, into the equation was also how much carbon is released into the air through the use of motors.
Right.
That interplayed into their strategy of what they're spraying out there, because they had to.
Yeah, see,
they had to accept that.
But
as,
they're not even admitting that. So you're just speculating because they haven't even admitted that they're spraying. We're still at the
Why?
point where
Why?
we look up and see the skies being checkered and white.
you back them into an alley somewhere and hold a gun to their head and say, "Okay, spill it." They might.
No.
But why? Why should they now? Why? Because you're asking them. Hey, I want an explanation.
Yeah, transparency.
Are you Joe Beeson?
No, if I've thought about it today, Kenny. If they said to me, "Hey, look, Earth's going through some crazy things. There's some weird things going on with the sun. Although the things that are going on with the sun have more to do with the HAARP frequency. Basically, they're taking mega power fossil fuels out of this Earth. So old sun energy is coming back out of the Earth and being beamed into the ionosphere. We're changing the ring of Earth. When you change the tone of Earth, you will change.
Increase the atmosphere.
You will change the tone of the whole solar system. It
This
will
is
echo.
KWWW. Joe is signing off. Yeah.
All right, thanks for joining us, folks. I think that's all Kenny can take. We'll pick it up on another time. Thanks.